Hey, good morning everyone, it's John from the podcast, and today I'm actually recording this in a beautiful park on the outskirts of Nagoya City. It's a very nice place. They've actually got a skate rink over there, which is unusual. It's not something I see often here in Nagoya City. I'm not sure if it's the only one in the city itself, but there's a really nice skate rink, as you can see. I'm talking too much as always, and I just want to get right into episode 84. Welcome to the channel if you're new. By the way, thank you very much to all of those who watched our last video, which was our visit to Sakai Ichimonji in Osaka in Dogu-Yasuji. It's a fantastic knife shop with lots of history, and I actually can't believe how much I learnt over there, thanks to Brad, who gave us a fantastic tour of all the knives and all the products over there, and a bit about the history of knife making, all the variations, and all the different types of steel and the finishes and the types of knives. It was a really interesting and insightful visit. So I'm glad many people seem to have enjoyed that. I can see that a lot of people are watching that, so thank you very much for tuning in. So in today's episode, and if you're new, by the way, I'm John. I've been in Nagoya for about 12 years now, and I just talk about stuff in Japan, life, news, food, travel, work, all that kind of stuff, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. You can drop any sort of questions you have or comments, feedback. You can also follow us on X at Ohazas Podcast, and if you hang around till the end of each episode, you'll get a free bonus word of the day, which is something I do every episode since the first episode. Sorry, there's a plane, helicopter going overhead. We'll give it a second to go. It's sometimes you see the Dr. Heli, is it called Mr. Doctor or Dr. Heli, something like that. There's a big medical helicopter that flies around Nagoya City sometimes, and I think in other cities as well in Japan, but it's not Dr. Heli, it's something else. Anyway, it's probably a news camera, news station or something like that. Anyway, as I was saying, we do word of the day, so if you hang around to the end of the episode, you'll also catch word of the day. And okay, let's dive right in. So I'm going to start off with the drone show. There was a drone show which was the first of its kind, to my knowledge, held in Nagoya City in a place called Tsuruma Park, which I've actually recorded an episode from there before in the past, probably a couple of episodes ago. Was it the last episode? I can't remember. But it's a nice park in the city. It's only about 1 or 2 train stations from Nagoya Station, so it's quite central. And I was really surprised to see that it was just advertised on a small pamphlet in a sort of an info leaflet stand over there at the park. And I was like, no way, there's a drone show. I don't know how I didn't know about it, but yeah. So always keep an eye out for those little leaflets when you come across any of those leaflet stands or places where, like, notice boards and that kind of thing. But yeah, so it was held on a Thursday night, I think it was, and on Thursday nights I kind of have other commitments, so I can't make it to many things. So I was really excited when I found out that I could make it to this show. It was held at around, I think it was 8 o'clock, roughly, around 8:15, 8 o'clock, around there, and it only lasted for 15 minutes because I guess they have batteries to worry about and that kind of thing. But it was kind of interesting, and I put out a video actually. I'll link that video here, and you can click on that and have a look. I'll put a little clip here as well so you can see what it looked like. But it wasn't really like what I expected. It was, I won't say it was disappointing because it was kind of interesting and it was something new. So it was kind of exciting, and it was something that obviously I'd never seen before in person. Seen plenty of them on YouTube and on the internet before. There's massive ones that they hold in, I think it's in America and China as well. I think China has some of the largest drone shows around. They're incredible. They have thousands of drones flying around in sync. This was, I think, the news that I saw, I think it said they had around 500 or 550 drones, which isn't too much, but it's still interesting. So something that actually sort of got me, it felt a bit eerie, was the lack of music. And I'm not sure why they did that. I mean, maybe they thought it would have the same aesthetics as fireworks or something, because it looks visually, when you see photos of drone shows, it reminds you of, you know, a firework festival or fireworks in the sky, because they're bright lights in the sky, and that's the only other thing that your mind can associate it with, apart from stars, which are natural. These are man-made, like fireworks. But there was something really strange and eerie about it when it was just the sound of the motors humming and no music and Yeah, because with fireworks you have the bang going on and the noise and the excitement. You can actually feel the bangs with the fireworks, right? When they go bang, you can actually feel the vibration of the sound wave sort of going through your body. So that was obviously missing, and it was just like this eerie bzzz in the distance, like, you know, the sound of a fly or something, or a mosquito, and 500 of them. And so it kind of felt a bit eerie for me. Visually, I actually found it to be quite interesting, but aesthetically, it didn't do it for me. I recommend, if you're watching and you're from the group that organised that drone show, or any drone show out there, please consider playing some music when you're doing your drone show, because it feels really eerie, for me anyway. But that was the drone show. Okay, next up, I'm going to talk about the Origami Exhibition, which I went to. That was absolutely beautiful, something really unique. Here are some photos, and this was just really impressive. I can't imagine how many hours this person has spent folding these things. I mean, geez, they had things there that looked like, I mean, if I were to try and fold those things, it probably would take me years. And that's, you know, even if I could fold like that. I mean, even just learning how to fold like that, I think would take years. So that was really amazing, something really unexpected for me. I wasn't expecting to see that many intricate folds and designs, and it was just incredible. It's on till about, I think it's on till about the mid-March or end of March or something like that. I'll put up the dates here so you can see. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I'm not sure, I had a quick look online. I didn't spend too much time on it, to be honest, but I hope it goes around Japan. At the moment, I can just see that it's in Nagoya. It probably will go around Japan at some point, or it probably has already gone around Japan at some point. But if you can check it out, I highly recommend it. Okay, next up, yes, Osaka. Like I mentioned, the previous video I put up, I'll put a link up to that here as well, was a quick visit to that knife shop, a traditional Japanese knife shop located in Namba in Osaka, in a place called Dogu Yasuji. And that was a really, really interesting visit. I wasn't expecting to get that much information just from that little visit, but Brad is a really knowledgeable guy, and he has studied these things back to front, and he's so knowledgeable about knives and how, you know, they're made and all the different types. So if you're interested in Japanese knives and you want to see how that went and you know, learn about the craft and all that kind of stuff, you can check out the video, and I'll put the link here for you. But I highly recommend. Also, just regarding that visit, I always like to find little bits of useful information for my viewers. So I wanted to share something which I think is really useful to know. If you're ever traveling between Nagoya and Osaka, I highly recommend getting the Hinotori train, and I'll put a photo up for you here. But the Hinotori train is actually run by Kintetsu, not by JR, and Kintetsu is a private line, and it operates in the Kansai area, and it goes through Mie Prefecture and also to Nagoya. And the Hinotori, although it's a little bit slower than a bullet train, in many ways it's better than a bullet train. So let me give you some details on that. So a bullet train let me just quickly backtrack a little bit. So when you go to Osaka, or when I go to Osaka, most people want to go to Namba, which is one of the main city areas over there. And so you've got Umeda, which is the center of Osaka, I think, the official center where all the main lines run through and all that stuff. And then you've got Namba, which is like downtown. Now, to get to Namba, if you take the bullet train, it's actually not very convenient. You have to go to Shin Osaka by bullet train from Nagoya Station, which is actually really fast. It's like 40 minutes or 45 minutes, something like that. It's only 34 minutes to Kyoto, by the way, from Nagoya. If you go into Kyoto, Shinkansen is fine, because you get out of Kyoto Station and you can directly access all of the stuff in Kyoto. You're like in the middle of Kyoto. When you go to Shin Osaka, it's not the case. You're actually on the outskirts of the city, and it's really annoying because it means you have to change trains. And if you've got luggage, it means you have to do a bunch of walking, and you have to, find your way to the correct subway line and get a subway to Namba Station. And I think door to door, to get from Nagoya to Namba by bullet train, I can't remember exactly, geez, I think it was an hour It's over an hour. It's like an hour 15 or something around there. But the Kintetsu is a direct line from Nagoya to Namba. So you don't have to get off the train. And it's a direct ride. And it costs less than the bullet train. It's only 4,990 yen from Nagoya to Namba. And it only takes about 2 hours and something. And the seats are more comfortable. The seats are a bit like the business class on the bullet train. The bullet train has a section called the green car. And so the basic standard seats on the Hinotori are actually like the green car seats on the Shinkansen, which would cost even more. I think the regular seats on the Shinkansen, the reserved seats, are about 6,000 or 6,000 something. I can't remember exactly, but it's around 6,000. And if you wanted to get the green car, it's probably an additional 1,000 or 1,500, something like that. And so it's cheaper. It only takes about an hour longer, which is nothing. I mean, if you've, allowed for the time. I mean, if we were talking like a 3-4 hour difference, I'd probably not recommend it as much, but it's only an hour more. Plus, you don't have to change trains. You go direct to Namba. So, of course, I chose to take the Hinotori there and on the way back, and that worked out really well. So my recommendation to you is, if you're traveling between Nagoya and Osaka, Namba especially, if you have to go to Shin Osaka, probably consider getting the Shinkansen, the bullet train. But 99% of the time, I don't know anyone who needs to go to Shin Osaka unless you're going for work and there's a company that you need to visit in that area. Different story. And your work will probably pay for that anyway. But if you're just a regular traveler and you want to go to Namba Station, I highly recommend getting the Hinotori train. Okay, enough about that. Let's see. Walking around Osaka, oh my goodness. Check out the crowd here. Look at this. My goodness. I walked to the Shinsaibashi area so I could see the Guriko man, they call him, the neon sign. Here's a photo of Guriko man. And I went to see him because it's, I have to do that. When I go to Osaka, especially Namba, I have to go visit the Guriko man. Good old memories and things like that. So I went there, and here's the view from the bridge where Guriko man can be seen. And as soon as I saw the number of people in this shotengai, in this shopping strip, I took the first left out of there, and I was like, nah, I'm not going in there. And I'd never seen it that crowded before. I imagine it's like that usually on the weekends. I was actually there on was it a Monday night? But I think it was a public holiday, wasn't it? Was the Tuesday a public holiday? Anyway, I think it was busy because there was a public holiday in there somewhere. And otherwise, I hope not all Monday nights are that busy, but it was incredibly busy. And if you're not into crowds, I don't recommend going to that Shinsaibashi area, especially on a weekend or on a public holiday like that. But the good thing is, you can easily get out of it. So if you see it, just take your first left or right or whatever, and the surrounding streets are actually not as busy. They're not that bad. So yeah, I don't know what it is about that street. It's got some magnetic pull for all the tourists, but it is exciting. If you've never been there, you've never seen it, if you can put up with a crowd for maybe 10, 15 minutes, maybe it's worth going in so you can experience it and you can tell people that you've been there. But it's not something I would recommend doing on a regular basis because it can be quite overwhelming. Okay, we're almost at the end of the show already. Geez, it's been a quick one. Oh yeah, the Lamy pen. I use a Lamy pen for, this is just a side note, of my stationery adventures, and something I thought was worth sharing. It's a bit of, it's like an economical hack, so you can make your writing experience a bit cheaper, but it's also, I feel like it's a bit of fun as well. And it's also eco-friendly because you're not throwing away plastic cartridges all the time. So if you have a fountain pen like I do, like this one here, this is the one I use. It's called a Lamy Alstar, I think it's called, because it's made of aluminium, I think, the outside, the barrel. But I had no idea that you could buy refillable cartridges. They're called converters, I believe. And I'd been buying plastic cartridges. They're disposable, so you put them in, you turn the barrel until it snaps into place, and a little needle inside, just on the back side of the nib, pierces into the plastic barrel, and it opens up the ink so the ink can flow. And when the ink is finished, you take it out, you throw it away, and it's a little plastic cartridge, so you throw that away as it is and you put in a new one. They come in a pack of, I think it's 5 cartridges in a little box, and that pack of 5 cartridges, it costs, depending on where you get them from, they can cost anywhere between about 500 or 600 yen, you know, at least 100 yen a cartridge, realistically maybe about 150, a cartridge, something like that. They do last a while. They're not, I mean, it's hard to compare. They probably don't last as long as a regular cheap, like a ball pen, but I haven't done any sort of definitive tests, so I'm not 100% sure if that's the case. But they last okay. Like, it's not like you put them in and they just run out. So they're okay from a longevity standpoint, but it is an expense, right? And it adds up. So I can't remember exactly how I stumbled upon this thing called a converter, but I found out about it and I looked into it, and apparently you can buy an official converter made by Lamy for that particular pen, for this particular pen. And they cost, what was it, about 900 yen, I think it was, somewhere around there. I think it was on sale. I got it from Yodobashi Camera, and I got myself a bottle of ink from the same company, Lamy, and that was about 2,000 yen. Now that contains 50 milliliters of ink, and one cartridge of ink, according to the Lamy website, is 1.25 milliliters. So that's about 40 cartridges worth of ink for about 2,000 yen. And so that only works out to about 50 yen a cartridge, which is a lot cheaper than like $1.50, right? So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to using this. I kind of like playing with these technical things. You've apparently got to dip it in and draw it out and, you know, draw up the ink into the cartridge. I kind of like doing little technical, mechanical things like that anyway. So if you're not into getting messy and potentially getting messy, that's probably not for you. But otherwise, it's probably worth, looking into. Anyway, that's all about the pen. Coffee update. Yes, thanks to Paprika Girl's recommendation, I went ahead and bought this fantastic coffee called Yirga Chefe, I think it's called. And this is from a place called Peace Coffee Roasters over there in Chiba Prefecture. And I ordered those online, got them last week, and I tried it out. And because I usually drink, I don't drink dark roasts, but I usually drink Guatemala or Kilimanjaro, and although they're not dark roasts, they're darker than the Yirgacheffe. The Yirgacheffe is a very light roast, and with coffee, if you're hand grinding or grinding and doing a pour over, the thing with coffee is if it's really dark, you sort of don't want to grind it too fine because it gets too bitter. The way to counter that is to grind a bit coarser so you can get a bit of acidity in there. And the opposite is true with lighter roasts. So the lighter the roast is, the finer you want to grind so you can extract the coffee flavor out of there. Otherwise, you'll just end up with a really sour drink at the end of the brew. So the first time I had it, it was a bit too sour for my palate. And then I adjusted my grinder, I made it a bit finer, and it actually came out really nice. It's got a very unique profile. It's nothing like any of the other coffees that I've had. It is more similar to Guatemala than it is to, say, you know, any of the darker roasts, but it's again very different to the Guatemala. I have had one special Guatemala that I got a few months ago, which was a premium kind of a blend from somewhere in South America, and that had a similar-ish kind of citrus kick to it. And that's the case with the Yirgacheffe as well. And it's a really fun kind of a coffee. If you want to try something new and something exciting, I highly recommend giving that a shot. Okay, we've made it to the end of the episode, everyone. Thanks very much for hanging around all the way to Word of the Day. Today's Word of the Day is related to the knife story, and it's toishi, which is sharpening stone, or some people call them whetstones as well. And obviously you need one to keep your knife sharp, and there's a whole bunch of different types and different grits that you can buy. You start off with a rough one and you work your way to a finer one, and that's what gives you a nice, like a polished finish on a knife, and really sharpens it up for you. Okay, that's all for today's episode. Thank you very much for tuning in and for staying until the end if you've made it this far. And if you like the show, please consider subscribing to support us and share it with your friends as well. Anyway, that's all from me for this episode. Bye for now.